Welcome everyone, it's Miss Owen here at BMS and I'm here to show you how to use the Pythagorean Theorem. So first, what is the Pythagorean Theorem? And second, what is the formula that we need to use? So the Pythagorean Theorem is a way to determine whether or not a triangle is a right triangle when given the side measurements. And second, the Pythagorean Theorem is a way to determine the missing side length in a right triangle. So you ask yourself, what is the formula? The formula is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So let's look at example 1. Example 1, if you have a right triangle and one side is 5, this side here, we don't know, I'm going to put a question mark, and this side here is 8. We need to figure out what that side is. So first you need to know that the two sides that make up the right angle are called the legs in the right triangle. And this side here, across or opposite of the right angle, of the 90-degree angle, is called the hypotenuse. So it's important knowing what legs are and what the hypotenuse is. So the legs, the way I like to think about it is it makes the right angle and it makes a capital L. Even if the triangle's upside down or on its side or anything like that, it still will make that 90-degree angle, and that's what we're looking for. So 5 and 8 are our legs. The legs are the A and the B. C is always, always, always the hypotenuse. I like to say that 5 is the shortest side, so the shortest side is A, the middle side is B, and the longest side is C. And that might help you also. So if I label our triangle as A, B, and C, in this example we are finding C, the hypotenuse. So what I need to do for step 1 is plug in what I know into my formula. So I know that my A is 5, so I have 5 squared. Plus I know that the B is 8, so 8 squared equals, the question mark is C. I'm trying to figure out what C squared is. Next, I'm going to do the math. 5 squared is 5 times 5, so 25, plus 8 squared, 8 times 8 is 64, equals c squared. Then we're just solving a simple equation. 25 plus 64 is 89. 89 equals c squared. And then to get c by itself, we have c squared. The opposite of c squared, or x squared, is the square root of c, or the square root of x if you want to use x as a variable. So I want to take the opposite of squared, which is the square root of both sides. So I'm going to take the square root of 89, rounding to the nearest tenth, I'm going to get 9.4. So c equals 9.4. So that's how to find the hypotenuse. The next example, I'm going to show you how to find either of the legs, either A or B. It's going to be the same for both. So let's look at example 2. Example 2 is a right triangle. Oops. Okay, and this side over here is 6, this side is 10, and this side we don't know. So the first thing you want to do is label your sides A, B, and C. So I know that the side opposite of the right angle is the hypotenuse. So this side is going to be labeled first with a C. These sides don't matter. If you label them A or B, it does not matter. I'm just going to label the 6A and the question mark B. Then I use my formula, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and plug in what I know. So I know that a is 6. 6 squared plus, I don't know b, so I'm going to leave it as b squared, equals c is 10 squared. 6 squared is 6 times 6, which is 36, plus b squared, equals 10 squared. 10 times 10 is 100. This becomes a simple equation. If I'm trying to solve for b, to get b by itself, this goes back to the lesson of solving simple one-step equations. I ask myself, what number am I going to take to the other side away from the b? So looking at this, I want to move the 36 over here to the 100, to the other side. So to move it, I have to do the opposite or inverse operation. So I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides. 36 minus 36 is 0, so it cancels. 100 minus 36 is 64. We're left with b squared on this side. Then the opposite of squared is the square root. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. When I take the square root of b squared, I get b. And the square root of 64 is 8. Therefore, b equals 8. So that's the first way of using the Pythagorean theorem. And sometimes Pythagorean theorem is used to determine whether or not a triangle is a right triangle or not. So for example, if you have a question like this, and this can be example 3, if you're given a right triangle with sides already there for you, this side is 6, this side is 9, and this side is 8, and they say, is this a right triangle? We have to figure out if it's a right triangle. It appears to be a right triangle just from the way I drew it, but it may not be an exact 90-degree angle. It might be 91 degrees or 89 degrees, so it looks like a right angle, but it may not be. So we have to use Pythagorean theorem to figure that out. So the formula is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Go ahead and label the triangle as A, B, and C. So my shortest side I'll use as A, middle side is B, and longest side is C, and plug in the values that you know. So I know that this is 6 squared plus 8 squared equals 9 squared. 6 squared is 6 times 6, which is 36, plus 8 squared, 8 times 8 is 64, equals 9 squared, 9 times 9, 81. Then do the math on this left side. 36 plus 64 is 100, equals 81. We know one thing about equations is that they have to be equal on both sides. So when I look at this, is this equation true? Does 100 equal 81? No, it's not true. So therefore, the answer is no, this is not a right triangle. Some of you again might think, well, it looks like it's a right triangle. Remember, looks can be deceiving. It could be 91 degrees, it could be 89 degrees, it could be very close to 90 degrees. Even 85 degrees might look like a right triangle. So let's look at another one. So if I have a triangle, it might look like a right triangle, but it may not be one. So let's just look and see. And this side here is 5. This side here is 13, and this side here is 12. I need to first label them as A, B, and C, and then use the formula A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So I know that A is 5, so I have 5 squared plus B is 12, 12 squared, equals C squared is 13 squared. 5 squared, 5 times 5 is 25, plus 12 squared, 12 times 12 is 144, equals 13 squared, 13 times 13 is 169. When I add these two together, I get 169 equals 169. So what we know about equations is that they have to equal each other on both sides. Does 169 equal 169? Yes. So therefore, this triangle is a right triangle. So it's true. So yes, it is a right triangle. I hope you found this helpful, and if you like the videos and like what you see, please subscribe. You can click like, add comments, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank you.